The teacher who believed in a weak student. The air was heavy with nervous chatter inside the grade 10 classroom of Greenfield High. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, dust motes floating lazily in the golden glow, but the students hardly noticed. Today was the day midterm results were being returned. Some students giggled confidently, already boasting about how well they had done. Others whispered prayers under their breath, clutching pens as if they were talismans. At the last bench sat a boy named Arjun. He wasn't laughing or whispering. He was simply staring at his desk, tracing invisible lines on the wooden surface with his finger. His stomach twisted into knots. He knew what was coming. Arjun was the kind of boy who always seemed invisible except when results came. Then suddenly, every mocking glance, every cruel laugh found him. He was not lazy, but no matter how hard he tried, the numbers on his report card always betrayed him. Ready to fail again, last bench here? A voice teased from the row ahead. Laughter rippled around him. He kept his head down. Words hurt, but silence was his only shield. The classroom door creaked open and the voices hushed. In walked Ms. Mira, the new class teacher. She was in her early 30s, wearing a simple cotton sari, her hair tied in a neat bun. Unlike most teachers, she didn't storm in with authority, but entered with a calm presence that instantly softened the air. She carried a stack of answer sheets. Instead of scowling, she smiled gently. "Children," she said, her voice like the first sip of warm tea on a winter morning, "before I return your papers, I want you to remember something. These marks are not a definition of who you are. They are just a mirror showing you today, not forever. Tomorrow, the reflection can change." The students shifted uneasily. This was not the usual lecture about failure and punishment. One by one, she handed out the papers. Excited whispers filled the room. Arjun's heart pounded as she neared his bench. He could almost hear the paper rustling like thunder. Finally, she placed his answer sheet before him. His trembling hands flipped it over 8 out of 50 in mathematics. His throat tightened. He wanted to disappear into the wooden bench. He braced himself for the usual scolding. But then something unexpected happened. Ms. Mira bent down slightly, meeting his eyes. Her tone was soft, meant only for him. "Arjun," she said, "you didn't do well this time, but I can see you've tried, and I believe you can do better. Will you let me help you?" For a moment, the world went still. The laughter around him faded. Her words echoed in his ears, "I believe you can do better." No one had ever said that to him before. Seeds of change. That evening, Arjun sat on the steps outside his small house, the answer sheet crumpled in his hand. His parents were kind but worried. They often reminded him how important studies were. Yet their sighs of disappointment stung more than their words. But this time, something felt different. A teacher hadn't scolded him. She hadn't written him off as hopeless. Instead, she had offered a lifeline. The next day, when school ended, Miss Mira asked him to stay back. She handed him a small blue notebook. On the first page she had written in neat handwriting, "Success is built on small steps. Today we take the first one." "Arjun," she said, "from today I don't want you to worry about the whole textbook. Each day you will solve just 5 problems. Not 10, not 20, only 5. After that, you'll put a star on the page. I'll check it weekly. The stars are your trophies." Arjun stared at the notebook. 5 problems sounded almost too simple. Could something so small make a difference? That evening, instead of joining his friends for cricket, he sat at his desk. The first 2 problems took him nearly half an hour. He erased and rewrote, frustration bubbling inside him. But then he managed to solve all 5. He drew a shaky little star in the corner of the page. It wasn't much, but it was his. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like a complete failure. The gentle push. Days turned into weeks. The notebook slowly filled with stars. Some were neat, others were messy, drawn hastily when he was tired. But they were his progress, visible and real. Whenever he got stuck, Ms. Mira patiently explained. She never ridiculed, never said, "This is so easy, why can't you get it?" Instead, she said, "Let's try another path. Mathematics has many doors. If one is locked, we'll open another." The fear that used to choke him began to loosen. He even started sitting in the second row, no longer hiding at the back. His classmates noticed. Some continued teasing, but he no longer carried their words like stones in his pocket. More than numbers. One afternoon, Ms. Mira gave the class an essay assignment. Write about the person who inspires you most. Most students chose cricketers, film stars, or national leaders. But when Ms. Mira read Arjun's essay, her throat tightened. "The person who inspires me is my teacher, Ms. Mira. She doesn't laugh when I make mistakes. She gives me stars for small wins. For others, they are just stars. But for me, they are the brightest things in my world." Her eyes welled up. In that moment, she realized how heavy a teacher's words could be. A single sentence of belief could carry a child out of darkness. From then on, she poured even more into guiding him not just in academics but in confidence. She asked him questions in class, encouraged him to read aloud, and praised his efforts openly. Slowly, other students began to see him in a new light. The final test. The final exams loomed ahead like towering mountains. While others buried themselves in thick guidebooks, Arjun stuck to his routine. 5 problems a day, stars in his notebook, patience over panic. On the morning of the mathematics exam, his hands trembled as he opened the question paper. But as his eyes scanned the problems, relief washed over him. Half of them were similar to the ones he had practiced. His pen moved steadily. There were moments of doubt, but he no longer froze. He whispered silently, one problem at a time. One star at a time. A month later, results were announced. Students rushed to the notice board, voices rising like a tide. Arjun stood back, heart racing. When he finally mustered the courage to look, he blinked in disbelief. 36 out of 50 in mathematics. His hands shook, but this time from joy. He wasn't the topper, but he had nearly doubled his marks. For him, it was like conquering Everest. The classroom buzzed with surprise. Some clapped politely, a few even genuinely impressed. But the proudest smile was Ms. Mira's. She walked over, placed a gentle hand on his shoulder, and whispered, "I told you, Arjun. You could do it." Beyond school walls, years rolled by. Arjun didn't become a mathematician. Numbers were never his greatest love. Instead, he found joy in words. He discovered literature, poetry, and storytelling. The same boy who once feared textbooks now spent hours filling diaries with thoughts and tales. He went on to become a writer, publishing short stories that touched hearts. His themes were always about hope, resilience, and the quiet power of encouragement. At the launch of his first book, he stood before an audience, holding back tears as he dedicated it. To Ms. Mira, who gave me stars when the world gave me failures. The hall erupted in applause. In the front row, Ms. Mira wiped her eyes, her heart swelling with pride. She realized she hadn't just improved a boy's grade, she had changed his life. Reflection. Every student carries a silent battle within. Some win easily, others stumble often. But sometimes all they need is one person who whispers, "I believe in you." For Arjun, that person was Ms. Mira. She didn't just teach equations. She taught patience, self-worth, and the courage to rise again. And in the quiet moments of adulthood, whenever life became difficult, Arjun still heard her gentle voice inside him. "You can. I believe in you."